Sometimes, a simple parcel hides a terrible secret.
What she found inside shocked all of London.
A crime driven by jealousy and revenge. The Adventure of the Cardboard Box.
London, Baker Street. A quiet morning settled over the famous rooms at 221B. Dr. Watson sat reading the newspaper, while Sherlock Holmes leaned back in his chair, lost in thought. Outside, the streets bustled with carriages and footsteps, but inside, everything felt calm, until a strange case arrived. One day, Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard rushed into Baker Street with an unusual report. A woman in Croydon named Miss Susan Cushing had received a small parcel by post. At first, it seemed ordinary, a plain cardboard box tied with rough string. But when she opened it, she screamed. Inside the box were 2 human ears, carefully packed in salt. Watson was horrified, but Holmes, instead of reacting with shock, became deeply interested. He examined the box closely. The string, the wrapping, the handwriting on the address, every tiny detail mattered. Holmes noticed that the string used to tie the parcel was the type commonly used on ships. "This," Holmes said calmly, "is a crime connected with the sea." Holmes, Watson, and Inspector Lestrade traveled to Croydon to meet Miss Susan Cushing. The poor woman was frightened and confused. "I have done nothing to deserve such a terrible thing," she insisted. Holmes listened carefully and observed everything around him. He soon learned something important. Miss Cushing had 2 sisters. One of them, Sarah, had once lived with her but later moved away after disagreements. The other sister, Mary, had married a sailor named Jim Browner. Holmes' eyes sharpened with interest. "A sailor," he murmured quietly. Back at Baker Street, Holmes began piecing together the mystery. He studied the ears carefully. One belonged to a man, the other belonged to a woman. Holmes also noticed that the package had been mailed from Belfast, a port city often visited by sailors. Everything pointed toward a terrible story of jealousy and revenge. Holmes soon reached a chilling conclusion. The package had not been meant for Susan Cushing at all. It had been intended for her sister, Sarah. Holmes explained his theory to Watson. Jim Browner, the sailor who married Mary Cushing, had once been a decent man, but over time, jealousy and anger had changed him. Sarah disliked Browner and interfered in the marriage. She spread suspicion and created tension between husband and wife. Eventually, tragedy struck. Mary Browner grew close to another man named Alec Fairburn. When Jim Browner discovered the betrayal, his rage consumed him. One night, Jim Browner followed Mary and Alec as they traveled together by boat. The confrontation was violent and sudden. Blinded by jealousy and heartbreak, Browner attacked them. When the terrible act was done, he realized what he had done in anger. But instead of hiding his crime completely, he made a horrifying decision. He cut off their ears and packed them in salt. Then he sent the box to Sarah Cushing, the person he blamed for destroying his life. Soon after Holmes explained everything, news arrived from the police. Jim Browner had been arrested aboard a ship, and when confronted with the evidence, he confessed. The sailor admitted that jealousy had driven him mad with grief and rage, but now the horror of his actions haunted him. He wished he could undo the terrible night forever. Back in Baker Street, Watson reflected on the case. Holmes sat quietly, smoking his pipe. "Watson," Holmes said thoughtfully, "there are many kinds of crimes in this world. Some are born from greed, but the most tragic ones come from the human heart." And with that, the strange and disturbing case of the cardboard box was finally solved.